Coming up on the FSR Sarc Fighter podcast, making it easier to travel for medical care if you have sarcoidosis.
We've got to put one foot in front of the other and continue to go forward.
Royce Robertson knows the pain of having to pay his own way, and he wants to make it easier for you to get there.
Probably been poked by a needle maybe 500 times. I've had five heart surgeries, mostly epicardial ablations. And I've also had the cardiac denervation, where ganglia between my first and second vertebra were severed.
Also, are you a veteran with sarcoidosis? I want to hear from you, and so does FSR.
This is the Sarc Fighter podcast, living with sarcoidosis and other rare diseases. Here's your host, John Carlin.
Hi, welcome to episode 159 of the FSR Sarc Fighter podcast. I'm your host, John Carlin, and it is March 8th of 2026. This year is cruising right along. My guest today is Royce Robertson, who is in remission after really fighting a terrible, terrible battle with sarcoidosis, and he's going to sort of get us back up to speed on how he's doing in this episode. But he has absolutely been through it with cardiac sarcoidosis, and you may remember Royce. It's not the first time he's been on the podcast, and once again this summer, he's planning a fundraising bike ride, and I mean a big bike ride, to try and help raise money for patients. And he knows the pain of the price firsthand, especially when you hear him talk about the amount of money that he had to travel from his home for medical care at Johns Hopkins. And he lives in outside Syracuse, New York, so Syracuse to Baltimore multiple times. And that is just something that has stuck in his craw, and he is determined to try and make it easier for the next person. So we're going to hear Royce talk a little bit more about his situation and his plan to raise money, and specifically to raise money to make it easier for you to get there. And he is working. He's working with FSR on this. So that's coming up in just a few minutes. I've been keeping you abreast of my own recovery from my ruptured Achilles from a pickleball incident. One lunge forward, and I was on the pavement, and been recovering ever since. So as I speak to you right now, I'm 12 and a half weeks post-surgery, and life is beginning to feel a little bit more normal. I'm walking in regular shoes, so I've gone from the cast to the boot, crutches, the little knee scooter, all the things. And then even when I got in regular shoes, I was limping terribly because your leg just doesn't work. The tendon hasn't stretched yet. There's no strength. My calf is only about 2/3 the size of the calf on my good leg. You look down, you can notice it because the muscles just haven't been used. But right now, I'm walking again in the regular shoes. The limp has almost gotten to the point where you can't notice it if you see me walking. I'm still aware of it. But anyway, I'm doing physical therapy twice a week. And then exercises at home in between. And here's the telling exercise. They have me do toe raises. So you're standing there and you're holding on to a counter in front of you, and your feet are flat on the ground, and you just lift up on your toes, right? That's a toe raise. And so they'll say, do 10 of those, and I'll do 10 of those. And then they'll say, all right, now let's try it with your good leg. And I can do toe raises with my good leg. They said, now let's see how many you can do with your bad leg. Well, I can't do any. And after 2 weeks of physical therapy, I still can't do any. So that shows you how weak that leg is, right? And you think, well, I'm walking and, I feel pretty normal. But the thing about these guys in physical therapy is they are able to isolate the actual muscle, the actual problem, and then they go after it, which is what they're supposed to do. So what they have me do is they have me do toe raises with both legs, and then just try to lower myself with the bad leg, and that actually strengthens the muscle on the down flex, if you will. So as I'm lowering my leg, which happens pretty quickly because I can't hold it there for, not even a second, maybe a moment. Is a moment less than a second? But anyway, so they're having me do that. So up on 2, down on the bad one, up on 2, down on the bad one. And I am living for the day where I can just push up with my left leg and just do toe raises with the bad leg. But I would say right now, there is no motion. Like when I go to do it, there's just nothing. So anyway, if you listen, you know that I'm an active person. I've always been an active person. I've been sidelined and pushed back quite a lot by sarcoidosis and ongoing neuropathy, and the neurosarc is the results of having had neurosarc, which I would say is under control or in remission, are with me every day. So I never forget about it, but I try to stay as active as I can despite that. And you know that I love to ride my bike. I just absolutely do. So even when I had the boot on, we've got a Peloton, which is an indoor bicycle down in the basement, and I would go through the motions with almost no resistance on the pedals. But the weather here in Virginia is breaking a little bit, and we've had some 70-degree weather in March, which is kind of rare. And so I had some time away from work last week, and I went out on my real bicycle, and I have now done 4 very slow and cautious rides on our greenway along the Roanoke River here in Virginia. The greenway is mostly flat. I mean, there's nothing there that would be considered a real hill. So I started out with a 10-mile ride, which by historic standards for me is a very short ride. Okay, most of the time, God, I don't want to sound arrogant, but I mean, I just ride so much that like a 20-mile ride is my normal ride. Okay, like my normal training ride is a 20-mile ride. So when I go out on my bike and I ride 10 miles. Even though with the Achilles, that turned out to be quite a challenge, that's certainly not where I want to be. But anyway, so I did a 10-miler, and then the next day I did another 10-miler, and I want to tell you that I could feel it. Like I was riding with Mary, and she said, well, let's just turn around whenever you feel like you need to turn around. And I didn't know if that sensation was going to present itself to me, and it did. I was like, okay, yeah, this ride is over. My foot started feeling bad, my legs started hurting, and so we turned around. We're 5 miles out. We ride 5 miles back to the car. There's your 10 miles. So I did a couple of those, and then the next day we stretched it a little further to 16, and then 2 days ago, as I'm speaking now, I'm very proud. I actually did a 20-mile bike ride. And not only am I proud of myself, but the Achilles is feeling stronger. I haven't damaged anything. Again, I'm riding with very easy gears, so you shift the bike so your leg is not pushing against a ton of resistance, but your feet are going around faster. If you've ridden a bike, hopefully that makes sense. But so I'm in easy gears. Think of it as like driving your car in first gear, high revs. So you've got a lot of power, but not a lot of resistance. Anyway, so hopefully I'll be regaining some speed and some distance, and because I'm working toward, and I'm still committed to doing this epic journey across Virginia in late June, ending on the 4th of July at Yorktown for the country's and Virginia's 250th anniversary with a big celebration, fireworks, and all of that. And so I need to get through the injury recovery, and then I need to do some actual serious training to be able to complete that ride. And I'm going with a group of people. There is a shuttle, there's support all the way across, and if I get tired, I can just get in the van and put my bike on the back and go to the next stop. So that option is there. And there's an expression on these trips, there's no shame in the shuttle. but man, I sure want to try and do it without getting in the van. And so I'm just going to keep pushing, and I'll let you know how it goes. I appreciate you letting me go on about this. Hey, I want to switch gears a little bit here. There's a lot of evidence to suggest that some jobs in the military can result in our service members getting sarcoidosis. It feels to me like an emerging area of research. And I'm sure there's already a large body out there, and maybe I'm just becoming more aware of it because it's sort of been in the background ever since I've been involved with FSR and ever since I came down with sarcoidosis. And you'd Google around, and so you would hear about people who'd served in the military who, for instance, had been exposed to burn pits, a lot of smoke, a lot of dust, that type of thing, coming down with sarcoidosis, finding out they have sarcoidosis. I don't know if you come down with sarcoidosis, you come down with the flu, but if you're diagnosed with sarcoidosis, at some point your body had reaction to something, and it triggered that immune response that results in the granulomas. So the military, our veterans, seem to have a very high incidence of sarcoidosis, and that research is sort of lumbering its way to the forefront. So I want to start talking about that on the podcast. I want to talk about it as much as it feels organically possible, and maybe even push it a little bit. So what I've done is I've reached out to the team at FSR who was working with some veterans groups to ask them to ask the veterans if they're willing to share their story here on the show. Also some researchers who can kind of point to the data and say, look, this is what we're finding, or this is our theory, this is our hypothesis, this is what the data suggests, and we're trying to reverse engineer it. X number of people were exposed to X amount of dust, or who knows what it is. It could be exhaust fumes from a tank, which is something I just pulled off the top of my head, so please don't run with that. But who knows what it is my point. And how does that wind up impacting our service members? So I'm reaching out to FSR to go through those channels, but I also want to reach out directly to you. So if you or someone you know wants to share their story, if you're a veteran and you are now suffering with sarcoidosis, please reach out to me. Email is best, carlinagency@gmail.com. But I would like to do several shows here in 2026 where we look at what's happening with veterans. And then toward that end, FSR just this week announced a new survey. I'm going to read the email to you. It's very short, but they're sending it out to the sarcoidosis population, and it says, "Are you a military veteran? We're launching a new FSR military veterans survey to better understand how sarcoidosis affects those who have served in the military. By sharing your experiences, you can help researchers and clinicians learn more about the potential causes, symptoms, and treatment responses within military veteran communities." It says, in this survey, we will ask you about your military service history, potential service-related exposures, your experiences receiving care, and more. So that is a new survey that has just come out from FSR, and I will put a link in the show notes, which takes you to the FSR website, and then you click on another button, and voila, you're in the survey. So I'll get you as close to that survey as I can with that one click. And that's what we'll do. So, all right, veterans, reach out to FSR, take the survey, reach out to me, let's start talking. And in the meantime, just know that that's something that's out there. And you don't need to be a veteran to contact me. I'm always here at carlinagency@gmail.com. I'm very excited. Of course, Royce is coming up today. And then I've already been talking to a gentleman in Philadelphia who is in the comedy scene. He has sarcoidosis. He's a candidate for a double lung transplant, and he has started something called Die Laughing. and I had a wonderful conversation with him. His story is coming up next, so that'll be 2 weeks from the release date of this one. So look for that coming out in mid to late March. Okay, that's all for now. After the break, we're going to Royce. We're going to hear his story. We're going to hear about his plans for another big fundraiser this summer and why he is so passionate about helping people offset the cost of having to travel to fight sarcoidosis.
I feel like a zombie, just feeding and stumbling.
Hi, I hope you're enjoying the Sarc Fighter podcast. You may be wondering, what can I do to help? How can I be a part of the sarcoidosis solution? It's simple. Make a donation to KISS, Kick In to Stop Sarcoidosis. 100% of the money goes to the Foundation for Sarcoidosis Research. Look for a link in the show notes of the Sarc Fighter podcast. Welcome back to the FSR Sarc Fighter podcast. Joining me again is Royce Robertson. I guess, Royce, you are the closest thing to a regular guest that I've had on the podcast. And you're going to get on your bicycle and do some fundraising this year. But welcome to the podcast.
Thanks, John. Yeah, I think it's my fourth time on the podcast. So I guess if this were like old time, late night TV or anything like that, I'd be the person who just kind of randomly shows up and has jokes and things like that.
Yeah, okay. You don't have any jokes for us today, do you?
Probably not.
Probably not. But lots of sarcoidosis stories and tributes and you're going to be undertaking another big bike ride fundraiser for sarcoidosis this year. Well, let me ask you first how you're feeling.
I'm doing great. I've coming up on now almost a decade of being a sarcoidosis patient, warrior, and fighter, and best I've been. I've got a PET scan in about 2 months that'll help me kind of see where I'm at, and I've got about a year and a half left on my defibrillator battery, and then I'll have to get that swapped out. But otherwise, haven't cut back on any medications. But I'm hoping with some, continued good news on those PET scans that maybe I might be able to either reduce some dosages or call it quits on some of them, for good.
Yeah. Which ones are you taking right now?
Oh, how long do you got? Let's
Right.
see. Probably about 9 different medications, a few for my heart. Then obviously, then sometimes when you take certain meds, you also take meds to counteract those meds. So, so I take take one for my stomach, cut down on the acidic response, things like that. But I also take immune support. So I'm, they're hoping to cut back on something somewhere at some point.
Yeah. Yeah. You froze up, your audio froze up a little bit, but you said you were taking, after you told us that you were taking something for the stomach acid, what else is there?
Oh, I also take an immune suppressive drug, both orally, and then I also do an infusion.
You do the infusion. How often do you have to go for the infusions?
Every 8 weeks.
Okay. Wow. That's no fun. I've done that.
No, that's not. Yeah, but the folks where I get my infusions done, they're a great team, very supportive. And you get on a schedule with people, you see the same people over and over again. It kind of becomes your kind of a side family for you. And
Yeah.
So there's a lot of folks in there that are mostly fighting autoimmune diseases and are of all ages and all walks of life, and we just kind of compare notes on life. So it's good. It's good.
Yeah.
It's not.
Yeah.
It could certainly be worse.
And what drug are you having infused?
I take infliximab or
Yeah.
Inflectra
Yeah.
because what is the other one that is not it is not approved as a sarcoidosis treatment.
Yeah. Well, very
Remicade.
few of them are. So,
Yep.
yeah, I saw that's exactly what I went through. Um, and you just kind of get used to it. You're sitting in the chair and that's what you do that day, you know?
Oh
That's
yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. I bring my laptop. I bring articles for work, and I usually I read, or I don't try not to do anything too, that requires too much movement. But I find ways to occupy my mind.
same, same. So, all right, let's talk about at, at your worst, you were in the hospital with sarcoidosis. Can you just remind listeners of what your situation was?
Sure. Real high level, kind of decade-ish summary. I I started with symptoms of lightheadedness back in 2016. Uh, and after a battery of tests, misdiagnosis, and failed ablation, I was re-diagnosed with cardiac sarcoidosis. And in the meantime, I've had 12 hospital visits, 6 ER visits, taken like an entire encyclopedia of different medications. Probably been poked by a needle maybe 500 times.
Huh.
Uh, I've had five heart surgeries, mostly epicardial ablations. And I've also had the cardiac denervation, where ganglia between my first and second vertebra were severed, and they're thereby losing the sympathetic response. So I have no sympathetic response between my brain and my heart. But I consider it a lifesaver. Obviously I have a defibrillator, and I've been shocked by it about 8 times. And there's all kinds of residual mental health and anxiety that goes with knowing that at any time you could have 700 and something volts pulsing through your body. So I've gone through my fair share of physical, mental, emotional stress and strain as part of fighting sarcoidosis.
What's it feel like when that thing goes off?
Um, it'll like I guess the best thing is I've never been kicked in the chest by a horse, but I'm guessing that that's what it feels like. It's and then there's like a crack of thunder that is basically in your chest. So if you've ever been so close to a lightning strike and thunder that it vibrates your body, uh, and you kind of feel it in your bones, multiply that by about 1,000.
Phew.
That's what I'd say.
Okay.
And so it's I you know for people who know me kind of in everyday life, I do have a tendency to cuss, and I do a lot when I get shocked. So I won't repeat any of those words here because it's a family show.
Yeah.
But yeah, it provokes some emotion. Let's put it that way.
Wow. I can only imagine. I can only imagine. And yet you are a cyclist, and you have done numerous bicycle related fundraising activities for FSR. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And you are endeavoring now to do something that, in my mind, is more difficult than even what you've done before. And tell us where you're going to go and what you're going to do.
Sure. Well, thank you for those kind words. As I often tell people, I only know one way, and that's forward. This, like many other people, this happened to me with no reason or explanation, and you could spend your time, I guess, wallowing in self-pity or, oh, woe is me. But ultimately, we've got to put one foot in front of the other and continue to go forward. So I only know one way, and that's straight ahead. And so Yeah, for me, I think during the pandemic, I started riding my bike a lot more for a cause. I would ride around. I live in central New York, and so I'd ride around at Finger Lake and dedicate that ride to someone who was battling something. And as I started to do it more, I started to think to myself, wait a minute, this thing's got legs or tires, and we could do so much more in terms of helping other people. And so as I was traveling back and forth to Johns Hopkins, many dozens of times, and my wife and I started to realize the financial costs of being a travel for treatment patient. I started realizing what my mission was, what the big idea for me was, and that was, and essentially boil it down to, big rides, bigger mission. And I like the long rides. There's something about it that is crazy therapeutic, daunting, that requires preparation. And so I enjoy doing these long rides. Over the last few summers, my sidekick, riding partner, mentor, friend and father figure, Jerry, and we rode the entirety of the Empire State Trail here in New York. That's 750 miles. And we had broke it down into 4 segments. And any of those segments were never more than about, I don't know, 200 miles. So we would do upwards of 200 miles in 3 days. Well, this summer, at the end of last summer, we kind of were reflecting on our journey, and I said, "You want to do something bigger?" And he was like, "Yeah, of course, let's do it." So I pitched the idea to him to do both the Great Allegheny Passage from Pittsburgh to Cumberland, Maryland, and then also do the C&O Trail from Cumberland, Maryland to Washington, D.C. So 335 miles over about 4 days, 4.5 days. And we're going to
That's a
go
lot.
Pittsburgh to DC. It is. But you know what? I guess I kind of, not to oversimplify it, 2 things. One, it's no more than what sarcoidosis patients are enduring in their pain and sometimes suffering, and let's say the complexities and uncertainties of their journey. And then second, the body achieves what the mind believes. And not to sound cliche, but with the right amount of preparation, the right amount of what the Finns call sisu, or intestinal fortitude,
Hmm.
we can get this done. And so I'm looking forward to it. I think my biggest fear is always rain. Like, you want every day to be sunny and bluebird skies and enjoy the ride. But ultimately, we'll probably get caught in a couple of downpours, and I'll grumble about it, but we'll just keep on trucking.
Yeah, and the trail is not, parts of it are paved and parts of it are unpaved, or is it all dirt? I can't remember.
It is a significant amount of packed gravel.
Packed gravel.
And
That's what I thought. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, and so
So,
I've been doing a lot of reading, everything from Facebook groups and Reddit, and all the documents that are available on the web pages, and overall I'm very optimistic about great trail quality, and kind of being in and around other riders who are just as excited about doing an iconic American bike trail.
yeah, it's a famous one. It's on my bucket list. And I don't know that I'll get to it before retirement, but retirement for me is looking like it's about a year and a half away. So I'm just going to kind of tuck that back there as something that I'm going to do when I retire.
John, you're making me jealous. Knock it off.
Well, I was all set to retire. I don't mind sharing. I just turned 65 and I was ready to call it quits, and I've been convinced to do another year and a half at the TV station. So, um, looks like I'm going to dive in for another year and a half, but then God willing, the creek don't rise, I am just going to put the brakes on it and get on my bicycle. First, what I would love to do is ride across the United States, um,
Yeah.
train for it, and then do it. And I don't know that I'll ever be healthy enough to do that or able to do that. But the Gap Trail, I've got friends who've done it, and they just love it in the CNO. And you are making me so jealous. So
Yeah,
when are you going to do this, Royce?
sure. We're going to start on Sunday, June the 7th in Pittsburgh in the
Okay.
afternoon, and we'll end in DC on Friday, June the 12th. And our stops are in a little town called Bell Vernon. We're going to make a stop in Rockwood, Cumberland, Hancock, and Harper's Ferry before we get into DC.
Yeah.
Um, and I'm looking forward to, a lot of and I think they just celebrate the bike culture along the trail so much. I'm looking forward to the food and meeting people, and the history. There's, just an insane amount of history along both trails,
Yeah. Yeah.
and as a geology buff, I look forward to kind of the geohistorical things too.
Yeah. Yeah. The rock formations and all that kind of thing. And then Harper's Ferry, West Virginia has so much Civil War history.
Oh yeah,
I don't
It'll be
even know
probably
how
my
many
third or
times,
fourth
huh?
time there.
Pardon
I'll
me?
probably this is probably my third or fourth time going to Harper's Ferry, and I'm still excited.
Yeah.
There's always more to see.
Yeah. Yeah. I've read a lot about Harper's Ferry, and it was one of those places that for a while the North held it, and then the South would reclaim it, then the North would get it back, and then the South would reclaim it in the Civil War. And it was just one of those pivotal places, and I'd love to go there, and I'd love to go there especially by bicycle. You are going to make this again an FSR fundraiser. So when will the fundraising start, and how do people find you and reach you and donate to the cause?
Yeah, fundraising is open. We're
Okay.
probably I would say about $1,000 in already.
Really? Okay,
Uh,
great.
yeah, you can go to stopsarcoidosis.rallybound.org, and you will see a list of all of the uh, FSR sponsored fundraisers,
Yeah.
and look there for Cycle for Sarc, cycle number 4 SARC. You can also find me on Instagram at Cycle for Sarc, CYCLE number 4 SARC. I want to at a pause here for a second and say, if you listen to the podcast and you've never been to the Stop Sarcoidosis Rally Bound page, I highly recommend it, because what you're going to do is you're going to see there that there's a growing number of people that are, especially those that like, I don't want to say athletes. I think I'll just say people who enjoy recreation, that are starting to put together their their fundraisers, their dreams, their goals, like me. My mission is that, someday no sarcoidosis patient will ever have to uh, suffer financial burdens in order to travel for treatment.
Mm-hmm.
And we know that there's other families out there that have been devastated by sarcoidosis, like the Igo family that did the Igo walking for sarcoidosis in New Jersey. And I got a chance to meet the Concellier family down in New Jersey last fall. I went down and spoke at Gene's Swing for Sarcoidosis, and
Okay.
an amazing. Their daughter Bree moved heaven and earth to put together this golf tournament in a short amount of time, and she knocked it out of the park. How often do you show up to a first time fundraiser for golf, and they're giving away an Audi for someone who can get a hole in one on one of the holes. I mean,
Uh-huh.
that's master level fundraising and development for someone who is still going through the pain of losing her father to
Yeah.
sarcoidosis, and just absolutely amazing. And then Bryce Walker, who ran along with other FSR representatives, ran in the New York City Marathon, and also, it was to culminate it all last fall and watch all of these great events happen. It was great to then go to the gala, the FSR gala in Chicago, and celebrate some of these things. And I just want to bring it back up again, because it's worth mentioning that
It
we're
is.
slowly, steadily getting traction around, let's say, some activity-based fundraising and development, to help raise the visibility of sarcoidosis.
Yeah.
So,
The gala was great, and it was really,
oh, it's
really,
amazing.
really enjoyable and very, very well done. Just a nice night to celebrate the people who are making breakthroughs on our behalf, and the patients who are benefiting from everything. It was just a real great night, and it was good to see you there as well. So
Yeah, likewise. Great to see you. And the, I mentioned the others, like I said, because, it really, much like cycling, it's about getting momentum. And I think we are grassroots, ground up, finding people, families, individuals who've been impacted by this disease, and they're paying it forward. They're organizing these amazing events. They are, putting their time and energy into what matters, and that's building relationships with people, and getting the word out about the disease, and also involving and building, existing in new communities. And so if someone from or has recently diagnosed with sarcoidosis, or someone like you or I who have been fighting it for a while, if you've never been to that stopsarcoidosis.rallybound.org page, pop open the browser, go check it out, and look at the great energy that is starting, and we need to continue it.
yeah, yeah. I've got so I that's part of the whole KISS program, Kick In to Stop Sarcoidosis, which
Yes.
I mentioned in the pre-recorded public service announcement that airs in every single one of these podcasts. And I've got a page there too where people have occasionally donated, just through the because they want to support. They hear the podcast and they're like, well, let me make a donation. So, but right now the idea is to it all goes to the same place. Let's support Royce, and your ride. So you're going to stay, you're going from June 7th through June 12th. You already got your stops figured out. And I know you from previous podcasts, you are a detail-oriented person. So I'm sure you've got every aspect of this trip mapped out. But you're staying in hotels, right? You're not camping?
uh, a bunch of people have asked and said, like, oh, I hear a lot of people camp when they do that. And you know, I can't ride my bike for 50, 60 miles a day and then sleep on the ground. I don't care, whatever new age, new technology sleeping pad gets invented. I need a bed, and I need a hot shower,
Yeah,
and I need preferably maybe some continental breakfast, scrambled eggs or something like that to get me going in the morning. But yeah, it's hotels and bed and breakfasts all the way. I'm starting to communicate with those folks. I've already made, kind of got the reservations done with all the booking, and now I'm starting to follow up with those places to not only to build the network, but also find places in the area, because we're going to try to do a little bit more evening. If I can get in a fundraiser at a local brewery, or if there's someone in the area, one of these communities that is struggling, maybe doing something to help them.
nice.
But we're trying to expand what we're doing, around the fundraising. beyond just the straight ask. We're also working on a T-shirt for this year, and you can guarantee that you give me your address, and there will be one in the mail for you, John.
Okay.
But we're working on a T-shirt, working on some different strategies in terms of raising awareness, fundraising, development, networking, just kind of building the community, so to speak. The staff at FSR has been absolutely amazing. Those are some talented, hardworking, insightful people, and I appreciate every minute that I get with them in terms of planning for these activities, the rides, they always, much like you, they always ask, how are you? The first thing, how are you doing? And that's an important thing, is
Yeah.
people want, they just want a community. They want to be able to talk about where they're at and how they're doing, where they're going.
Yeah.
And the folks at FSR are champs.
So I got two questions for you related to your cycling. Number one, you're there in central New York, so you're not riding your bicycle outside. When will you start training for this, and how much training do you have to do uh, and what was your expression? The body does what the mind describes, or what the mind, what is your
The body achieves what the mind believes.
that's it. Yes.
And
I love that. So, but I don't believe that you're going to be riding your bicycle in snow and 20-degree weather. So you're not going to even really be able to start training for this until what, April, late March?
there, yeah, so there's the weather here this winter, much like most of the eastern seaboard and the northern tier of the country, has just been cold and white and blowing winds, and winter. Uh, so far, my training has involved a stationary bike at the fitness place I go to,
Okay.
and I work in 5 mile increments, and so what I do is I will ride 5 miles maybe for 2 or 3 days, and then I kick it up to 10. And then I'll ride 10 miles for 2 or 3 days, and then I kick it up to 15.
Whew,
And
that's pretty
then
fast acceleration there, progress.
yeah, yeah. And then I'll stop at about 25, and then I'll start over again. And I'll
Huh.
do 5 and 10 and 15 and 20, those kind of things. And I feel like, compounded, I never actually spend a lot of time riding at 50 or 60 miles at a pop, which are which is what we average per day. So
Yeah.
I never really ride at the average mileage in a sustained way in order to prepare for it. I just kind of work around the idea of shorter distance over many, 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 many days, and then let the rest take care of itself. A lot of times for me, it's just getting my tailbone in shape.
Yes,
The
absolutely.
legs aren't the problem. The butt is the problem.
Yes. That is on some of those longer rides that I've done. I'm like, I can't sit on this bike seat any longer. And I know you've added padding and stuff to yours. I find that that doesn't help a bit. It just it doesn't help me.
No. There's the funniest story I can tell you is, so when Jerry and I were in the middle of doing the Empire Trail, I think there was a day that we had an 80-mile day, and it was the day after torrential downpours. So everything was still slightly wet, and you're starting to chafe and things like that. And I was in such pain. We were stopping at like every Dollar General or every cheapo depot that we passed, uh and buying towels, hand towels, and stuffing them in our shorts just in order to provide a little extra cushion,
Uh-huh.
and we're digging through the pharmacy aisle of, like, okay, what what can we throw on
What
this
else
to
is there, right?
reduce a little of the pain. And And it just, but even though in the moment you're kind of thinking, man, like, I don't think I could sit in this saddle anymore. You look back on it afterwards, and it's kind of like the funny, enjoyable stuff that, you'll remember forever.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
and that's the fun part.
Yeah, you remember the difficulty. Well, the second question I have is how do you get you and your bike back to where you started? You're starting in Pittsburgh and you're ending in Washington, D.C. So then how do you get back to Pittsburgh with your bike?
Oh, great question. So, like you said, I'm a meticulous planner. Um, this year, we are going to do a series of one-way car rentals. So, my friend Jerry will come here to Syracuse in his car, and we'll have a one-way rental from Syracuse to Pittsburgh, and we'll take
Okay.
that one-way rental with both bikes in it, get to Pittsburgh, give the rental back, and get on the trail. And then when we get to DC, I've got a one-way rental from Reagan Airport to Syracuse, and we'll put the bikes in the one-way rental and drive home. In the past, we've staggered cars. We've had someone pick us up, taken the train numerous times. And so I kind of, the timing didn't work on the train. We had some folks lined up that might have been able to chauffeur us, but you think that someone who was retired would have all kinds of free time, but this individual, they're booked up already,
Really?
and so, yeah, oh yeah, they're busy. So we had to kind of dig in and think about plan A, plan B, plan C. And this time around, one-way rentals seem to do the trick.
Wow. Okay. And so you're just renting like a minivan or a big
Yep.
SUV that'll fit the bicycles inside.
Yep, that's it. Yeah, yeah, and so, I've got some friends of mine, kind of part of the community, people in the network that they're actually making donations directly to be able to say, hey, listen, I'll pay for that one-way rental.
Oh, okay.
And we're getting some of those operational costs that are covered. Most times I consume them myself.
Uh-huh.
Um, and so starting to get a few other people that have kind of been interested in what we're doing, that are starting to say, well, you shouldn't have to bear that burden. And so how can I help? Hotels, lodging, those kind of things,
Great.
and
Great.
cars. So it's working out. Like I said, we're building momentum.
Good deal. Well, I'm glad you're feeling well. Appreciate everything you're doing to help the cause with sarcoidosis, especially offsetting people's travel costs. And it's just great that you're coming up on this is your third summer of doing something significant for sarcoidosis.
Yeah, third or fourth, I
For
think.
fourth, might be the fourth? Yeah, okay.
Might be the fourth. Yeah.
Yeah. Good job. Good job, Royce. Well, thank you so much for joining me today.
Oh yeah, no problem, John. It's always great to come on. I'm glad to hear that you're doing well. I'm glad to hear that you have that's awesome news. And uh the thank you for all you do as well. And we've got to be able to just build the community and find people that are willing to do what we do. And having you host the podcast and be this ambassador for the community is an amazing thing. And so it's great to be around you, to kind of talk shop, and I'm looking forward to the next time we can get out in the saddle together.
Absolutely. Well, I'll see you out on the trail for sure.
I feel like a zombie, just feeding and stumbling.
All right. Thank you, Royce. Thank you for being a regular guest of the FSR Sarc Fighter podcast. Thank you for your fundraising efforts. Thank you for your boundless energy. I don't know how you do it. People tell me I have a lot of energy, and I've met Royce now a couple of times. in person after we got connected through Sarcoidosis, and he has way more energy than I do, which is, you know, he just really is. He has got a lot on the ball, and I'm so appreciative of everything that you do, Royce. So thank you. All right. This is a great time. Don't forget, and of course, I want to make this goes without saying. A link to Royce's fundraising page will be here in the show notes with this podcast, or you can just go to the FSR webpage and search for KISS, Kick Into Stop Sarcoidosis, and look for Royce's link right there, and you can join me in making a donation to Royce's efforts. Okay, please contact me at carlinagency@gmail.com. The official Sarc Fighter song is Zombie by Mark Steyer and his band, the White Hot Lizards in Canada. You can hear Mark's story, the story behind the lyrics to that song, in episode 12, and we got an update from Mark about his Sarc battle just back in episode 118, not too long ago. This podcast comes out every other Monday. As I'm speaking today, my trusty dogs Dougal and Shandy once again are cheating on me. They're hanging out in Mary's office. If you're new here and you're just trying to figure out what Sarc is, try listening to episode 2 with Dr. Simon Hart. My story is episode 1. You can always reach out to me at carlinagency@gmail.com. It's in the show notes. And until next time, keep fighting.
Learn to suffer, you feel pain someday. Learn endurance, your strength will fade away. Dead man walking, trying to keep up the pace. Dead man walking,